Well, my vision for transportation is that we have a world-class transportation system. People say, oh, you can't do that. Yes, we can. I mean, absolutely we can. I mean, the only thing that's missing is the will to do it. My view of that is that it is a very we have to do it in a very comprehensive way, and we have to we're really looking toward the future. I mean, forget about using used buses. We need to be the best. We need to really do the job. And so that's my vision, and I think it is, I know it is the #1 issue on people's mind across the city. So I am proud to say I'm the only mayoral candidate who has come out with a plan to meet the challenges that we have, that everybody experiences most days, of congestion and traffic. My view is that we need to come at it in a very bold, aggressive, comprehensive way to come up with a transportation system that will just make it easier for all of us to get around our city. And that means improved roads, new roads, retrofitting neighborhoods to make them more walkable and bikeable, designing and working with developers to make sure that new neighborhoods are walkable and bikeable, real modern public transit options, ferry options. So I think that all of these things we can do. I have come up with a 10-point plan. There's not one idea in there, one strategy in there that has not been done successfully in other parts of the country. And in terms of funding, there is nothing in there that can't be funded. And in that regard, in terms of the cities, in terms of the systems, I think that Portland, Seattle are great cities to look at as models. And I think that Denver and Northern Virginia have done great creative financing of very large-scale transportation systems. You know, we have to get out of this one mode of funding of our mobility, that mode being the South Carolina DOT, South Carolina legislature. I mean, I don't want to leave that money there. Charleston needs to get that money, but I don't want it to be our only play and just be stuck in getting nowhere on really common sense solutions in the short term, and then really making progress and making plans toward sustainable, really big solutions. Well, I would like to address the idea of using our waterways, because that just seems like it's so obvious that we should test out the use of ferry services. And I do think that there are a couple of obvious routes to consider. One is Daniel Island over to the peninsula, and once we get, if we move, which is in Gabe Klein's study, if we move, which I am in favor of doing quickly, the visitor center up to the northern part of the peninsula, and we can start another place I'd put this pilot shuttle would be up and down the spine of the city. Whether it's making use of the Norfolk Southern right-of-way or it's in another place that's adjacent, but I think going up and down the spine would be great. So if we had a ferry service that comes over just about there, they can hop on the transit shuttle and go down into town. So I think that using, taking a look at ferry services, the other one that I want to try, there's no reason why we can't try it within 3 months of me becoming mayor, and that is West Ashley at the terminus of the bikeway is a brand new pier that the city, we just invested a lot of money in. It's called Higgins Pier. It's beautiful if you haven't been there. Right across the Ashley River is Brittlebank Park with a nice pier. With the bikeway and the neighborhoods right there, people need jobs. Why wouldn't we just go contract out, help a business develop, further develop, get the boat and go ahead and just, without much investment at all, except just getting the word out, run a ferry service so that all these people can just scoot over in 5 minutes. They're over at their job at MUSC and can hop on the bike path or pedestrian way or go into West Edge. So the ferry services is something that I think we can do a couple of pilots and see how they work. But it's a real missed opportunity not to use ferry services in our city. You know, in terms of road improvements and intersection improvements, which really we know are the source of most of the congestion, aside from the bigger issue, which is we have too many cars on the roads. But there are, in the short term, a couple of projects that I think are obvious should be just implemented. Like, it will be top priority in the first couple of months of me being mayor. One is the Pitchfork project, ready to go, and a great example of the community, really sort of the state saying this is what we want to do, and the community coming together and saying, well, we don't like that idea, but instead of just complaining about it, they came up with a new solution. So I love that project for two reasons. One, it works. It's not very expensive, be relatively easy to do. So that would be one. I think another intersection improvement would be the Main Road, Savannah Highway, Super Street. And I know that, and this kind of ties in with a general approach that I have, which is, I know we're thinking about a flyway to solve that congestion, but I am all in favor of trying the less expensive, quicker route, which is to do this Super Street intersection. And you know what? It might work. Fantastic. If it doesn't work, okay, great. Then let's move quickly to do the overpass. So those are two street improvement projects. Those are two examples that I like. Let's move it. Let's make it happen. There's no reason why we can't right now. You know, I would start in the short term, in the very short term, with making existing pedestrian ways and bikeways safer and better signage so people know they exist. For example, West Ashley, I've probably asked, I love of course I love the Greenway, and I really love the bikeway. A lot of people know about the Greenway. You won't believe how few people know about the bikeway. Nobody even knows about it. So in the short term, I think safety issues, many of them, it's just striping they're not difficult, nor are they expensive. So that I would do that right away. Others, I think that the connection between the Greenway and the bikeway, that's an obvious one. It's like, why hasn't that been done? It's only, what, a quarter of a mile or something, maybe a half mile between the two. And I think that implementing many of the proposals and initiatives in the Gabe Klein study for downtown are fairly short-term initiatives. Putting a bike lane on the Ashley River Bridge, or doing, improving the Ashley River Bridge, if you look at the bigger pictures of it, the part one, or one piece of it, is adding a lane that's coming into the city as you exit the bridge, right there at the Medical University. And that's the source of most of the congestion on the bridge. So am I in favor of doing that? Yes, I'm definitely in favor of doing that. The second piece of it is the idea of converting one of the 4 lanes for pedestrians and cyclists. Once we do the part one, we should be able to, in real time, test out, just close off that lane to confirm what all the studies have told us, which is that if we solve the congestion problem coming into the city, there will not be any sort of significant slowdown in traffic. We make that case, we get robust public support, which right now is wavering, and then we just quickly do that lane. If we find, this kind of loops back to my let's try stuff. If we find that, no, good God, it really did slow down traffic on the bridge, then I think we have to revisit it. But I think that is, being able to open up the options for all types of modes of transportation, whether we're talking about bridges or roads, I think is just something we have to pay attention to. On public transportation, I think that we need to do something that will allow Charleston residents to really experience what a modern, good public transit system looks like. So what I want to do, working with CARTA in collaboration, but having it be a sort of a pilot programs over here, I want to buy 3, 4, 5 electric, beautiful, modern, Wi-Fi enabled buses, pick some routes where we know there are lots of people going from point A to B, Citadel Mall, MUSC, Citadel Mall, Boeing, and go ahead and try these pilots, and also add sensors and the sensor technology so that when buses come up to the green lights, it's not as good as a dedicated lane, which in the long term we can go that route. But in the short term, put the sensors on the bus so that when the bus comes up to a traffic light, the light senses that there's a bus there and it stays green. So now everybody wants to get behind the bus so they can scoot through the traffic more quickly. So I'm interested in doing these pilot projects to show people what it feels like. And I know that they will, you know, some people will always want to be in their cars, no problem. But a lot of people, this is going to be the ticket, and it's going to really be great. And then once we prove that, then we can work with CARTA and other regional leaders to really have a great integrated public transit system using modern equipment.